Hi, Jess.
Hi, Lauren.
Back in the studio.
We are back.
It's been a while.
It has.
I have notes tonight, like 5 pages.
This is what happens when you skip a week and there are like 5 Bravo shows going at a time. We have so many to cover.
So different than summer where we were like dying for any drop. And now
we had to talk Below Deck. Those were dark times.
Dark times, Jessica. I totally agree. Which, did you see that they have a new kind of season going of Below Deck right now and it's like nowhere to be found?
Sailing Yacht?
Yeah. Sailing Yacht.
No, we watch it. Come on, Lauren.
Oh, wow.
It's on Bravo. I watch it, but I don't love it.
Oh, my gosh. So tonight we have massive lineup. Real Housewives of New York, Salt Lake City, and then OC. Now, we're filming on a Thursday, so we're not going to get the second reunion, but we'll get the first reunion in. Let's start with New York Housewives.
Okay.
Real Housewives
I so want to jump to what I just watched, but let's go back a week to set the scene.
So I'll kind of take us through the first episode, but then we have the second, obviously, which the major bomb drops, which I need to get all your thoughts on that.
Oh, my gosh.
So I think the Real Housewives of New York, the one thing I wanted to start with, we're seeing more of Jessel and Pavitt this kind of season.
We are.
And there was this great, moment when they're out to dinner and Pavitt is arguing with her about what to do with their eggs that they've frozen.
A very serious convo.
Yeah, people are really having a tough time with that conversation.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is my husband. I could be having this conversation right now with this man. Yes.
Just always making a joke and he's eating throughout the whole thing, doesn't pause.
Yeah, 100%. And then also the idea that spending money on certain things makes sense, but then spending money on other things does not make sense.
Yeah, okay.
So I thought it was absolutely ludicrous that they spend thousands of dollars a month on freezing their egg in a Beverly Hills freezer, which why Beverly Hills? We don't need that. And then he's getting kind of angsty about $300 to $500
for a
therapy session.
Yes.
Where you talk about what to do with the eggs
you're
that you're spending the money on.
Solve the expense.
I had to touch on that with you because I'm this is my life with my husband. This type of logic that's going on here.
Maybe the logic, but I couldn't relate. He was driving me nuts where I was be serious.
Yeah.
I don't know if he kind of just gets in that, he's almost being silly, he's being filmed, and he's kind of almost I don't want to be having this serious convo while we're on this TV show. Mm-hmm. So he's making light of everything, and it was pissing me off. I was God, she's talking to you about a very serious thing, and he was annoying me with that.
Well, and everyone's saying, was he doing that for the camera? But I think that's how he is.
It does sound like that's how he is.
Which, God bless Jessel for marrying that.
That would be so annoying.
So annoying. So annoying. And then we get a little more of Raquel also this episode.
Yeah.
She's actually quite interesting.
Yeah. We're getting a lot of backstory on Raquel.
Yeah.
Quite quickly for a newbie, which is nice.
I think she's friend of. She doesn't have an Apple.
No, she does.
Oh, she does. Okay.
She's in the intro card. Yeah.
So one thing on Raquel that I was doing a little deep dive on is her. So she has her ex-husband, and then she has this famous artist that she dated. Yeah. I thought they were one and the same.
Oh.
They're not.
I was losing that thread when she was talking about exes and...
I researched it for you. So her ex-husband that is the father of her children is named Corey Baylor, and he is a big finance guy. Which is very off-brand for her, you know what I mean? And then the second man she is now talking about, this artist, his name is Mikhail Thomas. I'm not saying that right, but he is extremely famous. Okay. One of his portraits of her, Jessica, went for, I think it was 1.4 million, and it was of Raquel at Christie's.
Okay.
So that is legit.
The artist guy was what that whole story was about how they had to be really careful and they were so entwined in business. Yes. The whole time I thought that was her ex-husband that she has the kids
and
with.
I Googled him and I'm like, wait, Corey Baylor, finance. He wasn't an artist.
Oh, okay.
Isn't that, I had to clarify that with you because I knew that was
confusing.
Yeah, it was just crazy. So we get a little more on her and I think she's quite interesting. I think she is actually carrying the season in some respects because this cast is so... I don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah, she carries it in the sense of being fresh and interesting, her life. But I mean, she's not contributing to drama,
right? She's interesting. She's not contributing to the plot.
And you can tell. I do think these women are very open and receptive to her. And they're not trying to be newbie. I think she is a pretty big deal.
Oh,
I think they all are this is cool that I know Raquel in the art world, like in New York. Do you know what I mean? They're not like territorial. They're all like welcoming to her.
Right. One thing that people are kind of like going at, well, Bryn can do no right this season, let's just be honest. But her Riz app, and she's like talking about her team, and she's talking about the app.
Oh, yeah. I looked into that.
Oh, I downloaded the app to see what it was. Just to see what
Always
it was.
Going a step above, Lauren.
I know. I was showing my husband it. No, just kidding. It's a dating app. And so a couple things. One is she's nowhere to be found on it. Like, it's not like she's kind of this is what the internet was freaking out about. She's kind of acting like it's her app. I think she's like an investor. Okay. And I think they're going to use her for like promotion. Yeah. But I don't think
she's... To be like, I'm single in the city. Yeah. I use this. Yeah.
And so did you look at what it does?
And I hate it. I hate that. It's like AI generated responses.
And like pickup lines.
Yeah.
You could be like, what do I respond to this girl with? It's like, you should know what to respond to the girl with.
I feel like we've like told a few of those stories before, but I like distinctly remember like maybe this guy was using this app because it was like the best like texting banter with someone ever, and then like first date was the worst first date I've ever had. And I was like, where was that? Where did this go? Like, I think he was using something back in the day. We're talking like 7 years ago. But that is horrible. Like, then you're going to get in person and these guys are going to be so awkward. Yeah. And they had all these witty comebacks on the app.
And my husband, who's in this he does some of this for his job. He would say basically what the app is it's using ChatGPT to respond. Yeah. Which that's not.
You're just putting in a prompt.
Yeah. You could do that without the app. You know what I mean? To your point.
I'm assuming you didn't pay for this app, Lauren.
No, I didn't go that far. But it also helps you with Instagram and like TikTok.
I bet a lot of influencers use it. Right. Because sometimes I do look through people's captions and I'm like, how did they think of that? That's so creative. Like, they're for sure using AI.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah. So, I mean, the internet is like on Bryn this season, but basically she has two things. One, she talks about the Riz app last episode, but then also this episode, she's talking about her team that she has.
Yes. Okay. I was going to say that. I was like, but I know I'm jumping between the two episodes. But she commented that she has to go in the office 3 times a week.
I know.
And is that for the app or something else?
I don't know. Because if it's the app I researched, she's literally nowhere to be found.
There's no way she's going into an office, even though she's like, I've always been in tech. Like, I'm used to like being in the office.
It's like, it continues to fuel this, what do you do for your job and where do you get your money?
And even some of the women in their confessionals are like, I don't really know. Jessel was like, I don't really know what Bryn does. Yeah. And Erin's like, not touching that. She does not like if you comment, like, we don't know what she does or how she makes her money.
It's perfectly fine to be an investor, but like, say that. Don't act like you're running the company.
It's bougier to be like, I just invest. I'm just so wealthy.
Totally.
I don't have to work. But did you catch? She said like, oh, well, there's about 15 on the team in New York and 50 in London. I was like, Bryn, you are not managing that many people. Let's not.
No.
Like you're
the app doesn't require that much. It's not like it's a community management app that people have to respond to stuff. It's like, it's pretty straightforward. You use ChatGPT to respond to your dating profile.
And at the point that they're filming the show, the app hasn't even launched yet. Like, they're still building it. So I would think you're just working with developers right now.
Maybe it's a bunch of developers. Who knows?
Again, the mystery around
the enigma. Yeah, it's getting a little tired.
Yeah.
So the last thing to talk about is this mezcal party. Now, the one thing that really stands out, and I can't even like say anything else, is Uba drinking directly out of that water thing. The water.
She is just.
She's giving
erratic this season.
She's giving very like chaotic.
Yeah, right?
And then she doesn't participate in anything really. She sat out at the tennis, she sat out at the dodgeball.
That's so true.
She's coming in late to almost all of this stuff.
And correct me if I'm wrong, she doesn't drink. She's sober, I believe.
I don't think so. But to drink out of the water container is just like...
I mean, not to say because she's sober, she gets to drink out of the communal water for everybody.
Her energy is just constantly coming in with like, I'm going to cut a bitch, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And to your point...
She was so mean to Jessel out of nowhere. And I was like, what did Jessel do to you just now?
And to your point, it's like, where is this stemming from? I mean, we get a little bit of it, but it's like... I'm still unclear on Uba and what Uba's really doing.
Well, she opened up about maybe the not participating in some of the athletic stuff was like the health stuff she shared. Clearly, I'm wondering if she's about to find out like more later that there's going to be a health something or other, because she mentioned like, I have an appointment with a doctor to try and figure this out, but I can't be doing stuff if it's like physical.
Yeah, and the mezcal party, other than Uba, I also was like, people clearly did not know what they were showing up to. If you looked at the group outfits, like it was all over the place. I don't know if you saw that. It was like Erin was wearing
well, yeah, she looked like the salsa girl.
Right.
Like salsa
and
dancer.
Then Bryn came in like a day dress. I just think it's just, for me, that's very reminiscent of the season of like, what are we doing here with this season, with this group of people? And
it was just, I know like Erin kept saying, and it was like a good thing, but they were so over capacity, but good God, they were sardined like into that bar they were at. I was like, that looks so hot and uncomfortable.
And kind of yelling at each other. It was a weird moment. The last thing I'll say on this episode before I move to the big bomb that got dropped, the next one. So did you catch that Gabe was like in college? Maybe I'm confusing.
The more recent with Mel when they were out on the double date.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's more recent. Sorry.
Yes.
So I have my episodes confused, but I was like, what?
That was
like, what did he just say?
But I'm loving the Gabe Mel.
Oh, yeah. That dichotomy.
Loving it. Like, they're such a funny, and then they show up to the double date both wearing black leather jackets.
I'm like, I want to hear more about Gabe and what he went through in college and what he thought experimenting was and why he like questioned things.
I just loved like Mel explaining how, when I first met him, I thought he was like douchey and bro-y. She's like, and then I realized he has a lot of lesbian sensibilities. I was like, please elaborate on what that means.
Right.
But she's like, I love him. They have like this love for each other. And
I know.
It's such an odd.
Like, can we get more pairing of him on camera?
Yeah, I like Gabe as a house husband.
Which, speaking of, before we go too deep in the next episode, Erin's pregnant now.
Yes.
We saw that announcement.
Total suspect timing.
Right.
With the episode.
It just
she's
happened.
Getting blowback from it.
Oh, she is?
Yeah.
Online?
Yeah, you don't know? Did you see the very end?
Oh, yeah. I saw the last episode.
Prank.
Right, but why is she getting blowback?
Because she was in on it with Rebecca.
Oh.
She's part of it where she's like, wasn't that good acting?
But you're saying that the like online haters are giving her blowback for announcing her pregnancy?
No, I mean, she's getting blowback for being like overproducing.
Oh.
So then it's like, oh, well, I'm pregnant. Guess what? So it's like interesting timing that when this episode's coming out that everyone's going to be annoyed at her, she posts like a happy thing to change the narrative. And now no one's like, Erin's overproducing with Rebecca Minkoff.
So you think for sure it's a joke?
Yes, and I wasn't 100% sure at the end of that episode. It was that quick little them going hee hee hee. Watch What Happens Live. Jeff Lewis was on, and Andy Cohen right away goes, I hate pranks.
Yeah.
Like, Jeff, what did you think? And Jeff's like, that's the worst thing you can do as a housewife. So they're both fully saying it's a full-on prank. And then someone asked Sai, I think Andy was like, Sai, what were you thinking when it was coming out? And she goes, I fully believed it. Like, so it was very clear that this is not true.
This is the second prank, too, that Erin is pulling. Like, the bug thing was the first.
Okay, that's a harmless prank.
But Jessica, that was the entire episode of that.
Right, because there wasn't much.
And we had to watch people throw up, like, on TV. Like, this is the second prank episode.
Andy brought that up and was saying that he, like, loved it to Sai. And I was like, really?
Oh, my gosh. So it is a prank.
It's not true.
So what is where are we going with this then? Like, so that Erin can kind of catch people talking gossip?
Yeah, I think it was like to prove that Bryn would pass it along.
Oh.
And what's so interesting, though, did you catch when Bryn at Dodgeball was telling the story to Jessel and maybe Jenna, I forget who was all standing around, and maybe Sai, but she goes, I used to work with Rebecca's husband.
Yeah.
And she goes, when Erin told me this at lunch, I reached out to old coworkers that we all worked together, and they all said, oh, they do that. So I was like, so wait, do they? Because there couldn't have been all those people in on this cover story.
Right. That's where I went with it too.
Some truth to that part, but that she's not actually pregnant.
Or Bryn is just totally stirring the pot in an over-exaggerated way, and she reached out to one person, which, I mean, I don't know what annoys me more. The fact that it's a prank, the fact that Brynn is reaching out and, like, juicing the whole storyline when it's fake, or, I mean, the fact that they were so giddy around the gossip that they had heard, all of these wives. Like, to me, that said a lot, because it was like, to me, it was like, oh, we're so pleased we finally have something great to talk about. You know what I mean? So I was literally smiling from, like, ear to ear of, like, oh my gosh.
The only one who, like, took it nicely and was almost like a friend was Jenna, who then was like, just so you know, people are talking. I think you need to be, like, prepared. So she's the only one that was like, I'm not going to spread this, and I'm going to tell you to your face. Everybody knows what's going on.
I couldn't believe that. I just thought the whole thing was so frustrating and very, like, appropriate for this cast, that they are clinging to something that is not even, like, true.
I know. And, like, how much of the trailer was
all of
she's pregnant and she doesn't know the father. And I was like, oh my God, this is all. See, this is one I hate. Like, remember I said that whole storyline better not be about someone we don't even know. Didn't even think it was completely made up.
Well, Jessica, if you also caught, the other storyline that we could have pursued at the Dodgeball was that Sai had a hot mic moment about Rebecca.
Yeah.
On whose podcast?
Guess who? Jeff Lewis.
On Jeff Lewis's podcast. I mean, at this point, get him on the show. Yeah. Let's just get Jeff in the mix.
That's what Andy said to Jeff. Like, you got to be loving. You're the storyline on 3 different franchises right now. And he's like, I don't know. I guess I just have good interviews.
I mean, it sounded like she was pretty dang rude to Rebecca, by the way, too.
Yeah.
Like, she said she was boring and doesn't, something around, like, she never takes anything that they give her. Like, she doesn't respond in the right way to them. Just like, no, as Jessica said, no value add.
Yes. NVA. I liked that. I was like, that's a Lauren saying.
Yeah,
I've ever heard one. Non-value add.
What are you thinking? I mean, so why is this a to be continued, I guess? Because we're going to end this prank in 2 seconds on the next episode.
This is kind of, where Bravo doesn't think it through. Like you were saying, some of the after shows give so much away. Mm-hmm. Andy on Watch What Happens Live gave it away. So if there was no Watch What Happens Live, I would have been like, wait, what were Aaron and Rebecca Like, I'd be like, what was that about?
Right.
And I'd have to wait a week to find out it's this prank. But Watch What Happens Live just told me the answer.
Right. So, I think what they're going to do is they're going to cut back to that lunch with Aaron and Rebecca.
And they'll show the part
where they planned it.
What's really interesting, so online, what I've been seeing people say, they hate that this is a prank. Like, everyone hates that aspect of it. Mm-hmm. But they said it's very interesting that the producers kept it all in.
Right.
And they said it's almost self-sabotage that they want this all shown that the women were doing it. If they had enough to go off of, they would have maybe cut it and been like, we're not going with that. Like, why were you doing that? So the fact that they probably cut out Aaron and Rebecca deciding to do it to show it to us later. They're showing them giggling at the end of Dodgeball so that we're getting a little teaser. Something's up about this. So they're like, this is very interesting. The producers went with it.
I know. Jessica, to me, it just says exactly what you just said, which is they have nothing else to do.
Yeah.
They have nothing else to show.
I know. It's the kiss of death for a franchise.
I don't know. I can't tell what's going on with this show. I just know it's a complex web of shallowness. The puddle it's very shallow. The threads are not there. Anything else on Real Housewives of NYC?
No, but that's a good segue to Salt Lake City with shallowness, because that is all I'm left with Lisa Barlow. So shallow.
I mean, just contrast those two franchises,
right?
And the fact that they're on kind of back to back, you're so excited for one, the other one you're like, I'm checking the clock on RHONY.
I caught myself scrolling multiple times, and I was like, I have to pay attention. I have to take notes.
Like, I have to talk about this. Okay, so Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, we missed now the 2 episodes. So one is pre-Palm Springs, and then they finally get to Palm Springs.
Yep.
So first of all, pre-Palm Springs, the one thing I wanted to bring up is Lisa, Meredith, and Heather have a convo at the spa. Heather's clearly not invited to Palm Springs.
Yes.
Notice how they cut all of the spa experience between the two ladies, Meredith and Lisa, out, and they just gave you Heather coming to the spa. that to me suggests that they were so boring that they cut that, which contributes, Jessica, to the point that, like, what is Meredith Marks doing this season? Right. That's what I thought. I'm like, Meredith is probably talking about her, like, bar mitzvah in the spa. And the producers were like, no, we're not leaving that in.
No, knowing them, Meredith was silent and Lisa's talking her ear off during the couples massage. And they were like, this is so boring.
It is shocking to me that Heather is not invited. I mean, it's kind of an OG of this franchise not being invited.
And by a newbie, basically. Like, she's pushing her out. But I think this episode sort of was the very tail end of the Heather Bronwyn interaction. Mm-hmm. They both went in so negative. Mm-hmm. Like, Bronwyn kept saying, I invited her over to, like, work through this. But the way she phrased everything was very, like, fighting words.
Yeah.
So I agree. Heather came in hot and was also, it's like when they both are, like, expecting an apology. Never going to work when the others in the
Well, the after show, which I watch, is really, Whitney said it best. She's like, I think they've met their match between the two of them because they're both smart, they're good with their words, they both like give you pieces of arguments that are like hard to rebuttal against, so they think that, of course this conversation was going to go sideways between the two of them. I don't know. I think Bronwyn is a little prickly, I would say it like that. I think she could have made that conversation go better.
Yes.
Also was highly distracted by the fact that she had so much poo in the house. Dog poo.
That was so not on brand.
No.
It's also not on brand that she has so many of the same breed of dog.
I know. What is that?
They're all just running around in sweaters.
Right. How does she keep track of them?
No, I was shocked that I'm shocked that her house is not put together.
Yeah.
Like we said, she's been in it for how long? And when they would like show them walking, there's just boxes. Like, it looked like they moved in a month prior.
Yeah. And Todd is such a stickler. You think he would say, like, we got to get this together.
It's weird. Oh, yeah. And we got to get into their relationship.
Oh, my gosh.
We got a lot more in Palm Springs.
The other thing I'll say about who wasn't invited, Brittany, which no one seems to notice.
I literally was like, that was great. I didn't notice Brittany wasn't there.
She says it on the after show to Lisa. She's like, well, no one called me,
Brittany.
Oh, yeah. We didn't realize you weren't there, Brittany.
Forgot you existed.
Okay, so Todd and Bronwyn, let's just get into that right off the bat. It's Jessica, his energy gives me like my dad is there vibes. And I'm having like people pleaser anxiety, like back in the 90s.
Yes.
I'm 13 years old and my dad is like checking down the basement and like seeing if people are drinking in our basement. Like
that's how like Bronwyn reacts to him too.
Yeah.
And it's so weird.
It's really weird, right?
Yeah.
And you thought it was just on the first episode, like, okay, he's just trying to set the stage. He wants a relaxing weekend. But then it kept coming back. And it's like, first of all, dude, you're on a reality TV show. Like,
I know.
What did you think was going to happen?
Right.
Second, you're giving old man vibes, not in a way that's just like crotchety, but like controlling.
Yeah. Oh, someone said this is Erica and Tom Girardi.
Oh, really?
2.0. Don't think it's as big of an age gap because Erica and Tom was a very big one. Or just Erica looks so amazing for her age. I forget how old she is. But we're talking the 20 plus to 25 plus year age gap.
Right.
But it was, remember when, God, before everything with Tom came out, he would like dismiss her. He'd be like, Erica, I'm talking.
Yeah, right.
I kind of felt like Todd was cutting Bronwyn off here and there. And she's very much like, yes, father.
But she wasn't really. That was what was also making it worse. Just like I felt like during the Gwen conversation, where he's like, "We're not talking about this." She kind of kept going with it, and I wanted to be like, "He doesn't want to talk about it. He doesn't want to talk about it. Like, stop. He's gonna get mad." It's
but
truly
what pissed me off about that is it's her daughter,
right?
He is the stepfather. I get that he's been in her life for a very long time, but if the mother wants to talk about it,
right,
she should have been allowed to discuss,
right?
And he's like, that is not for the dinner table.
And she was trying to close it down in that moment. It wasn't like she was trying to say like, let's get into it,
right?
It seems like stuff is going to come out with them, right?
You saw the mid-season trailer was at the end of this episode. Oh my gosh, yeah.
It would really make a lot of sense at this point because he is scary.
Yeah.
I want to go back. He's nothing like my dad. My dad would be more fun than that man was. And that
For real. Your dad would be
all of our dads.
Strings.
Yeah. My dad would be a pleasant surprise compared to that man. That man is scary.
Yeah. But I think it makes a little more sense of going back to the Milwaukee trip and Brittany going, Bronwyn, like with your husband and questioning. I bet there are more like rumblings that they're, other than their age, more of an odd couple than you think.
Interesting.
And when I think Bronwyn was a little tipsy at that dinner when she kind of made, so she also posted like present day when the episode aired. Like, I wish I hadn't done such a snarky toast. I really love all these things about Todd. But she even made a comment like, well, it works because he travels so much. And I was like, ding, ding, ding.
Right.
He's not around a lot.
You said the truth.
And I was like, I think that was a very honest statement.
But she's snarking up a storm to everything. Like, there's no moment that Bronwyn is like, even when they were doing the toast, like, she was like, well, you know, she had some funny jokes to say about him. I don't know. The relationship is very weird as a whole. Okay, so they arrive in Palm Springs and he's already off the top being like, this is not how this weekend's going to go. Which I would be like, all right, boo-boo, then see yourself to the side because...
Let's have an attitude adjustment.
Yeah, let's get our conversation pants on because we're on reality TV.
This is what we signed up for.
Yes, we're
on
reality
TV. Here we go. Yeah.
Also, did you catch... I thought this was so Whitney, and I wrote it down, so I'm going to say it to you. She arrives and she goes, I've never had a friend go above and beyond in this way before. I'm like, you mean rich? Like, you've never had a friend this rich. You're realizing that you need to align yourself with Bronwyn because she's this rich.
Yes. But I'm confused, too, because it's my understanding that a lot of these, unless Bronwyn and Todd were truly paying, and that is why she was allowed to not have Heather, if it is the true cast trip, no one can be excluded.
But I think she is. I mean, she kind of alludes that she paid for the flight, she rented the house.
So I guess this was just like an in addition to trip that they funded.
Because they're going to go to Miami, that mid-season trailer.
Oh, is that where they are? I couldn't tell. Or Mexico. It was somewhere beachy. Yeah, I wasn't sure where they are.
I mean, so Bronwyn is casually picking out $5 million worth of jewelry, Jessica. Like, she's paying for this, I think.
When they... Yeah, that was insanity to me because I was like, okay, that's next level rich. Like, celebrities only loan a $4 million necklace to wear to the Oscars. Yeah. And they're giving it back.
But do you think that was a loan or do you think he purchased that?
I mean, I think purchased, but I'm very confused by how they are affording.
Because I checked into his net worth.
Yeah, what is it?
It was like $24 million. So
he just spent... What's the math on that?
A sixth of it? Yeah. I don't know. And it's like everyone's fighting and then casually like she's just picking out like $5 million worth of jewelry.
Dude, like each stone is bigger than my engagement ring and it goes the whole way around.
That's why she puts up with his controlling. I don't know.
Exactly.
It was crazy. Okay, so then we get a little bit of like Seth and Meredith during this episode. So
yeah, still having some issues again with like his travel. See, that's the difference. Meredith wants him around more. I think Bronwyn's like, off you go to Japan. See you in 2 weeks.
I'll see you when you see ya.
So yeah, she's like, Meredith's annoyed by how much Seth is gone. This is very friend of friend, but I think it's my friend Steph, her sister-in-law. It's either her sister-in-law or her sister-in-law's sister. Worked at the company that Seth in Columbus that he
Big Lots?
Big Lots. I mean, and said he's really nice and friendly.
So she works with him.
Like not like super closely, but that he physically, yes, is truly in the office and is a known person and is a nice guy.
I feel like Blue cracked that case open. Do you remember when we nailed down what his job was?
Okay. You're very kind to use you found him on LinkedIn.
But now like Instagram's like saying like, oh, I was today years old when I realized Seth worked at Big Lots. I'm like, yeah, we knew that.
You must listen to Conspirareality.
Duh. Okay, so Seth and Meredith. Now they were actually having problems during this time. I watched in the after show.
Oh, yeah.
It was not just like a little like moment that Meredith was annoyed with him. She was like they were on the rocks again during this time period.
Ooh, okay.
They're better now, but at that point, it's just the travel that brings her down. She doesn't like when they travel, and she felt like he was doing it. Also, another theme kind of through this Palm Springs thing that I want your opinion on is Lisa and her mouth and how that like affects John. I feel like we're seeing layers to this, Jessica.
Yeah.
He I don't think loves it. I don't think John loves it.
I was cracking up when he had the convo and he's like, Lisa, you got to talk to Bronwyn one-on-one. Don't have everyone, giving their 2 cents. And she's like, yep. And then they're at the lunch table and she's like, we need to continue the convo. And they just pan to John. Well, in front of Todd. And then they pan to John and John's just like none of my advice was taken.
Yeah, right.
He's a saint. I mean, Lisa Barlow is a lot of work.
She's got a mouth on her, which I think everybody didn't really fully it wasn't in our conscious. And now after this, I'm like, oh, this is in our conscious.
Well, we got a sneak peek of it. I agree. Okay, I really do see both sides, and I'm kind of glad that both Lisa and Justin apologized. Because that fight, I see both sides. Him as a man should not have kind of stepped to her. But as Whitney said, so much was not shown. Lisa was in his face saying, your wife's a liar. How do you put up with it? She's a liar. You kind of want to grab her throat and be like, shut up.
Yeah.
She's a dog with a bone when she's...
Dog, yeah, 100%.
So she drives me nuts with that. I'm losing... the Lisa. I was never fully on the bandwagon, but she's iconic with some of the stuff she does.
Yeah.
But she drives me nuts.
Well, she had one quote too. She said, I did nothing wrong and I can't wait for everyone to apologize to me. It's like, Lisa, God, how do you, Whitney said it. She's like, how do you go through this many arguments with this many people and still it's not me though.
Don't see that you're the root of it.
I'm clearly very hormonal right now. And that's the one thing that I do that I can catch myself. I'm always looking at myself. I'm like, if you fought with your husband and your mom and your brother and it was short with your coworker, I think it's you, Lauren. So at least I can kind of hold that together.
Everyone's ganging up on me at the same time.
I can't believe it.
It's very Lisa of you.
Yes,
but I'm glad you have the self-awareness to go, maybe it's me.
Maybe it's me. Okay, so speaking of husbands getting involved, we have...
a lot of involvement on this trip.
Angie's husband, though, Jessica, he's doing more than getting involved. He's pushing plotline.
Yeah.
I'm like, we don't need... What's his name? Even I always forget. I'm like, Sean, we don't need you.
With a W, I believe. I think he says H-A-W-N.
He's too much.
Yeah.
And he's trying to pull that narrative with him and Meredith with the podcast.
Again, Meredith is so not in my vision at all. I forgot that they had beef. Yeah. When it got brought up, I was like, what?
Well, and then it's so weird. It's such a weird moment because it's the recording of the podcast. He clearly is saying, he's implying enough about Brooks that he should say sorry. Yeah. And then he's saying, I didn't say that. And then Meredith and Seth didn't even listen to the podcast, so they can't even...
That was the part that I was like, you're so dumb. You couldn't even, when he goes, no, I really didn't. I didn't say that. They couldn't go, well, I listened and you did. Because the clip we heard, he said it. Her son, and he's claiming he did not mention.
And he said it enough. It may have not been the preciseness that Meredith is saying, but that was a true blue, you implied what you implied. Yeah. Anyway.
Seth with the biatch thing in Whitney's face was too much.
Really? I took another route on that. I was like, why is this a thing?
Oh.
Because Seth is Seth. He literally announces, does your pee smell when you have asparagus? He was not directing it. Well, I guess he was directing it towards her.
Was at Whitney.
But he uses, biatch, we all know. That's a friendly word.
But he didn't mean it friendly. I think it was the level, how loud it was. And then everyone was silent. I had that moment of secondhand embarrassment where I was just thinking, he's probably going, I wish I hadn't said that.
I wish I had chosen a different word.
Instantly being like, that was a little much.
I just thought he was being Seth and then it was too much, but Whitney's taking it as a pearl clutch.
Well, she has to because she needs...
Has to, right.
I think she's soon about to find out her Alibaba is all incorrect information. So she's like, shoot, now I'm mad at Seth for saying biatch in my face.
The amount that the Bravo audience has said the word Alibaba in the last few months, Jessica.
Never have I ever shopped from there.
No, and we saw on Watch What Happens Live, let's just cover it, that this entire season is fueled by this podcaster who told Whitney that it was Lisa.
Yes.
And then he immediately rescinded it, it seemed like.
Yep.
And then Whitney went on Watch What Happens Live to say, we're no longer friends with that podcaster because he did me dirty.
Yeah.
So this entire Lisa Whitney thing is built on the back of somebody who can't even get his facts straight.
Right.
Like, what are you doing? They need to figure out the podcasters. Bravo does.
Yeah.
Us. They need to figure out us. And they need to figure out what to do with us.
Wait until we are quoted on one of these shows.
Oh my God. I can't wait. It's happening sooner than later.
We got to write into the Watch What Happens Live, like, questions.
Yeah, right.
We got to do
Get some snarky sass out there.
Yes, and have it be a question Andy picks.
Okay, let's touch on Mary and Robert. So we got a lot of hate from when we talked about Robert. Mary is bringing this up. She's like bringing this to the forefront. His drug problems.
And Andy also touched on it because obviously he has seen the whole season and like knows what's to come. And he just very briefly kind of, it was Angie was the guest with Jeff Lewis. And he was just like, so we see a very, tough conversation with Mary and her son. And he's like, it is building to something more that you will see. And it's serious stuff. So like he touches on it, but
I think it's interesting though of how much he's exposing it. I mean, I think there's going to be a lot of people who really applaud her for that.
Yeah.
Jessica, I also think Mary's a little bit using like the cameramen as support or the production as support.
A little bit.
Because Robert Sr. is nowhere to be found.
No, I don't think we're going to see him once.
No.
This season.
And I can see Mary, like the cameras go down and she's like, how was that conversation? You know what I mean? She's clearly needs, I mean, I don't think any parent would feel comfortable like sitting there trying to navigate this alone.
Right.
I feel like she's using the cameraman as like her backup.
And just like giving her like strength
to
go have
the production
convo.
crew. Yeah.
I know. My heart kind of went out to her more this episode where she was, again, she's very much alluding. She's never going to say it, but she's like, I feel like I'm losing him to something. It's like, well, drugs. But like, I really felt bad for her there. Robert Sr. is his dad, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Because there was a very funny moment of Vince also overseeing me watching this, and he's like, where, like, I even said, oh, there's this backstory, and like, he's now in rehab and all this, and he's like, where's his dad in all this? I was like, let me explain who his father is. It's actually his step-great-grandfather.
Yeah.
And Vince is like, what?
Like eyeballs on the floor.
Yeah, it was like the moment of explaining Mary's family tree was interesting in the home that I had to explain it.
Also, Jessica, the wife, I think she would have had to sign a release to be on TV. She's been on it kind of multiple times now.
Yeah, and they put her age. She's 21.
So was my math right of how they first got together when she was a little younger? Or do I need to rescind that?
I think they're actually I didn't even clock that, but I think they're close in age.
Okay, so I was wrong probably. Whoops.
Like you said, Reddit never lies.
Yeah, well, it did.
I mean, it's possible they were together for years, and if he's only a year or two older, but why did I think he was also only like 22?
I don't know.
Okay,
we'll look into it. We'll look into it and we'll come back.
I'll look back at that episode.
Okay, so back to the Palm Springs. The last piece that I think is Browen versus Lisa. Browen's got her versus Heather, her versus Lisa. I mean, and she's she's going toes with them for a newbie.
Yeah, good for her. I like Lisa being put to the test.
I agree. It gives me vibes of Teresa Giudice being put to the test.
Ooh, yeah.
With like a little bit of like the circular kind of I can do no wrong like mindset.
Yep.
I feel bad for Browen though, because I truly think she like looks at this relationship with Lisa and she's like, we were really good friends and you're like not choosing me at all in any of this.
Yeah. And the way Bronwyn's like, let me make this simple. Do you think I'm two-faced? Yeah. And when Lisa was like, do I think you're... The second you repeat the question back, it's like you're stalling for time. And even Bronwyn's like, the amount of time you need to debate this.
Like it should just
that
be no.
Cracked me up. And then they cut to Lisa in her confessional going, it's really tough because I do think she's two-faced.
Right. Well, that's the code.
Yeah.
And then the last thing is the flight home. With Lisa.
That's another reason.
Everything with Lisa is just obnoxious.
Too much. That like they said, it's like a 45-minute flight.
Yeah.
It is so quick. And this is where Lisa, you're not helping your storyline that you're an amazing mom. She even goes, can't wait to get home to Henry. Finds out she's in coach. And she goes, Henry doesn't need us right away. If it takes longer to get home, that's okay. I'm like, you're willing to have a connecting flight so that you fly first class. Insane.
But also, Mary said this on the after show, and I kind of agree. She's like, why did they fly private out, not to fly private back?
Great question. Yeah.
I mean, it's so simple and it's such a Maryism, but she's like, I would have assumed we were flying private back, you know?
Yeah. Why was that a one-way ticket?
Right.
They were definitely doing a jet share. And the jet needed to get up there, and it was already going to be gone by the time.
I think it's because Todd spent too much on the necklace, so then he's like,
we're not doing private back.
Cut that private.
I have to make the first installment of the payment for that necklace.
Yeah, right. Oh man! So, and then we get a mid-season trailer.
Oh, it looks amazing.
Did you catch that? Whitney reaches out to Monica.
That's where we're going to get the Heather quote, our sworn enemy.
Oh.
This is where it is.
Yeah.
So it is. But I wonder what Monica shares. Do you think Monica will make a resurgence in a future season?
I saw a video of Monica, and she was basically saying that the cast told Bravo that they wouldn't film if she came back.
It usually doesn't work, though, when they do the ultimatum.
She was at like some random party. She was standing by like the DJ booth, and she like made an ad hoc announcement about it, like impromptu announcement about it. So it felt real, but Monica, I think, spins a little bit too. Either way, I think they tried to get her to come back, and there's something that said no.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay. Interesting.
Well, she's mentioned.
Yeah. I wonder if she gets a cut for... How many times your name is said?
Well, Jen Shaw would be highly profitable at that point.
And Jeff Lewis.
Anything else? The one thing I want to say to you is Salt Lake City has currently Mormon Wives being filmed in it. Salt Lake City, Real Housewives of Salt Lake City.
Yep.
And then they have that new
real estate show.
Jessica, the city's not that big.
Right.
I mean,
I've never been, but I want to go.
Production, we should go. Production crews must be running to Salt Lake City to be like, it's the combination of the Mormon.
There's a weird,
Yeah, this town is so small. There's always drama.
I think I just saw that Sister Wives season 2 is going to be on ABC.
Oh.
They are getting primetime.
Oh, wow.
For season 2.
But to me, it's a step cousin to the Housewives franchise. You know what I mean?
It's a younger
generation. Right. So anyway, I'm like, Salt Lake City is booming.
Okay, let's go. Let's go to, what is it? The Park City Film Fest that Lisa runs.
Yeah.
Let's go for the next one.
We talked too much shit about her.
Okay, she'll blackball us from all of her events.
Because apparently she has good conversations with fans who reach out, but they have to stan her. It's not like Jessica, we've been too critical.
And we can't go to Meredith's store.
We've been too critical.
She won't even be. We could go to Beauty Lab and Laser.
Right. Yeah. Heather's still high on the list. We should be
welcome there. And Bronwyn, we love you. Whatever you open or do.
Yeah, right. All right. Let's go to OC.
Yes.
Our last franchise of the evening. Mm-hmm. So we missed the first episode. So we'll just touch on it briefly. It's the tacky bridesmaid engagement party.
Yes. Jen's ginormous.
What did you think of that ring? Clownish a little.
I don't like it.
Yeah, as I touch my own, I'm like,
I made a comment when she's, seeing the ladies and showing. Shannon was rubbing her thumb all over. I was like, get your dirty paws off her shiny new diamond, if it's real.
What was she trying to do with that, do you think? Like, just test it?
I wonder if she had a little, just a little tap.
Yeah, right. Like, I'm trying to see how. Yeah, right. I caught that too, Jess.
She was really, pawing it. It's like, God, no one wants their brand new ring to be, not losing its glow already.
Right. Have a big thumbprint on it. Also, at the tacky bridesmaid engagement party, Joe is back.
Yeah.
Jessica, she's coming back.
I think so. She keeps popping up.
They showed her multiple times. They showed her, the housewives saying hi to her. She was then at stuff in New York that they were at.
Oh,
Tamara posted, or some sort of Bravo party, I was going to say, that they were at. Her face looks different.
Well, don't they all over the years? But she looked good.
Yeah, she looked good.
She still looks so young, but she was the youngest housewife ever.
Yeah.
The connection that she worked for Ryan? Insane.
Yeah.
I wonder if she saw any shady business dealings.
Right. So let's see. I mean, there's nothing really at this engagement party other than John Jansen shows up. He like gets out of the car to pick up Shannon. I'm like,
Alexis.
Sorry. Oh my gosh.
Slip of the tongue there.
Freudian slip. Too little, too late, bro. Like, why are you?
And also Emily was drunk and she ran in and was like, he's here. John Jansen's here. I don't think he got out of the car. He stepped out, said hello to Alexis, and then they got in the car. Like, he didn't even come into the party. So I was like, not quite. Like, Shannon didn't have to go run and hide.
Right. And then the other thing that they bring up at this engagement party is the kid storyline about Katie and the kids and who told what. I cannot believe this franchise is going this deep into the kids.
Yeah.
It's just so like when Katie says the line that all moms say, well, if my daughter lied, that's something we'll have to discuss. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe we have to do this right now.
Well, she went further than any other housewife. Any other housewife would be like, my daughter doesn't lie.
Right.
So she was admitting like, if she did, I'll have to speak to her about that. So she was hedging her bets. My heart kind of broke for her though, because it's like most housewives take that route. They're like, how dare you? Yeah.
Katie's not. She's like sitting there like, well,
I know. It was a more authentic response. I appreciated it. Even though I still am like, who concocted this story?
This is such a, not a storyline that anyone wants to like indulge in.
Getting a little RHONY
like juicy. Your 8-year-old said that
about Heather.
All right, let's jump to the reunion. So let's talk about logistics. Tamara's on the first seat next to Andy. Mm-hmm. Heather is back. Thank God.
I was so mad though. Almost every reunion, you get to see him walk in. I want to know what Heather thought when she found out she was end of the couch.
Yeah, end of the couch in line with Katie,
Yeah.
Which is a fresh face.
Yeah.
And then you have Shannon, and then Gina and Emily are in the middle.
Mm-hmm. On different couches, even though they are like besties. So that meant nothing.
I wrote down that Shannon's boobs were so tucked so high.
Yeah.
And then she actually fixed them.
Yeah. She's like, we had to fix my boob shelf. Thank God.
They were choking her.
Yeah.
Okay, so
what did you think of outfits?
I thought they all looked great.
Yeah, they looked cohesive.
Right, yeah.
I'm trying to think if I had to pick, who did I even like the most?
I don't know. The set, though, was the same set they used last year, and you could tell one thing was happening, which we've experienced before, which is the echo. The set is so... it's almost like an IMAX set of the beach.
Okay.
They used that last year. And
yeah.
I mean, they tried to course correct it, but it's like the echo is so bad. I'm like, this set doesn't work.
Catch that.
Yeah, it was just a little in the beginning. I think
now that you're an audio engineer,
right.
Catch these.
My ear, so sensitive. Okay, so the big thing of this reunion that I feel like you would agree with is we are talking about stuff that was not brought up on the season. Emily, all about Katie
stuff. Yeah.
Yes. And Emily is coming in hot with her lawyer degree.
Yeah, she was annoying me.
It weaponizing it.
Too much.
First of all, you don't bring up stuff that happened 10 years ago for this poor woman on the reunion.
Yeah, that was never talked about. They're just trying to hurt her credibility in the other stuff with Heather.
But it's we as viewers are we're all wait, what? What are we talking about?
Couldn't follow the story.
Couldn't follow it. And then you're left with all these weird blog posts or you pulling up old articles.
Yeah.
This is not.
I did love Andy calling out the hypocrisy to Heather though. They cut to her getting her makeup done. And again, we just jumped into it. We normally get Andy going to say hi to everybody, them walking out. It was boom, they're in their seats and welcome,
Right.
But they did a cut of Andy talking to Heather and Heather being like, I don't like people digging up stuff. So then when she brought that up, her rebuttal was, Andy, I didn't dig into it. There was a blog and I read it, even though Emily clearly looked up the frickin' police report.
And read through all of it. This is so weird because, I mean, the other pieces that we're talking about, right? So Tamara and Shannon and the Travis article, right?
Yep.
That gets wrapped up super fast. I wrote this all down. Heather and Shannon and the bloodied photograph where she shows, the bloodied photograph to Heather and wants her TV moment. That gets wrapped up really quick. Yep. And we spend 80% of the time on this nonsense with Katie. That's why I'm like, this is not, and the rules of etiquette, the unwritten rules of a reunion, you don't like talk about new things for 80% of the time. You know what I mean?
Completely agree. And I felt like like you said, we touched on so many of the bigger feuds and stuff, other than clearly Alexis is going to come out. That's going to be probably take up all of part 2.
Right.
But don't you feel like we almost touched on all the fights in part 1?
Yeah.
I was like,
we were running through
what is 2 and 3 other than Alexis? And that, please God, cannot be 2 parts of Alexis and John and
Shannon. And it feels like a little collusion happened beforehand because Gina is also a couple of things about Gina that you think Gina would have a stronger response to. She's like quickly dismissing.
Yep.
She's like, oh yeah, that was fine. I wasn't ready to talk to Shannon last year during the CPS comment anyway. Oh yeah, that other thing was fine with Travis. Like it just was whatever. They're trying to go there. I feel like they talked and they're ready to go after Katie. Yeah,
no, Gina's very much back on Heather's good graces and is like, fine, I'll go after Katie with you.
Yes. And I feel like poor Katie, her key confidant is Jen, who is a little Miss Quiet Mouse. Jen has found her voice, but it's not enough to back her up in these moments.
Did Jen even speak at part 1 of the reunion?
Yeah, a little bit.
I'm trying to remember. Oh yeah, we did get in again. We got into the Ryan and Tamra stuff. I'm like, what the heck are we talking about in parts 2 and 3?
Right. Well, it's because the case now is like out in the open.
Right.
But Ryan is through it at that point.
Yeah. He already has his immunity, and I know I felt for Jen, like she wasn't adequately prepped. She needs Heather's PR team
to
prep her because that was a lot of legal stuff.
Yeah.
And the women being like, you don't get immunity for just talking. You get immunity in like the definition of the word is because you are guilty, but we're going to give you immunity if you fork something else over. And she's like, no, Ryan did nothing wrong. He's just cooperating. They're like, no, he has immunity. And she doesn't like.
See, I didn't even really catch that.
No, like she's not clocking that he did do something illegal. They're just like he said,
like
he's
deal.
The bottom of the totem pole.
Right.
For literally the feds with this gambling ring. They're going after, and they're like, well, it's just like in gang. Like, I know, like, I don't know why, but it's like gangs and stuff. If they can get a low level person who'll squeal, they want to get the head honcho, and the low level probably is going to get whacked. But,
and I love that.
Snitches get stitches.
Yeah,
but.
right. Shannon at one point says to Andy, like, should she be talking about this?
Yeah. I appreciated Shannon. Well, she's been through enough legal things herself with probably her DUI, but she was like, this is still ongoing. Should she really be talking? And I think she could tell that Jen was like floundering and probably saying more or not saying correctly what she was supposed to be sharing.
I agree. And then the last thing that I want to say to you is that Gina also seems to be weaponizing real estate during this. She brings up something in Katie of like, why didn't you tell me you owned your house? I'm like, Gina, I would never use you as a real estate agent.
I know.
Because you are very, you seem to be holding nuggets of people and what they've done wrong. And it's like, Gina, you were down and out just a season ago.
Yeah.
Don't act like your house is clean.
I know. Yeah, I wouldn't trust Gina with like my W-2 information.
No.
She would for sure be sharing like, do you know how much they were able to put down for their down payment?
And you lied and said you could put down 20 and you only could put down 10. Like that, it would be like that.
Yeah. She'd be like, they used a government assistant loan.
It's like, Gina, do you own your house?
She does.
I guess she can't go on these.
That's, like, she does own it, and that's where a lot of the women, like, they get all this flack about, there was that whole thing on the Watch What Happens Live of whose house would sell for the most. I think Heather was asked that because clearly Heather's the number one.
Right.
But the thing was, all the other women at the time, like, Shannon rents. Tamra might own, but, like, okay, maybe Emily owns, but anyway, they were like, Gina's one of the only ones, like for a few seasons ago, it was like Gina's one of the only ones that owns her house.
Oh, so she has that armor.
It was when O.C. Bronwyn remember Crazy Bronwyn with all the kids and got divorced.
Yeah.
She rented and was living way above her means and all that. So it was always like comparing houses. It's like, yeah, but Shannon rented at the time. Bronwyn rented at the time. Yeah. So Gina does own. I wonder what she put down. Maybe we can find her mortgage information online.
Well, and then the last thing that comes up that Jen finally kind of throws back at Emily to keep her away.
Yeah.
Which shockingly has like taken a life of its own.
Yeah, it has.
Is that what Shane's family completely funds their lifestyle?
That tracks a bit. Because like Emily has, other than housewives, she is not like a working attorney. She volunteers for the Innocence Project, which is great. And now that I think Shane finally qualified, he is working, I believe. But a brand new lawyer's salary does not fund that house and 3 or 4 kids. I mean, Shane has a kid from a previous marriage. They have 3 like that's not funding that.
I was happy Jen said it though, just to like put Emily a little in her place.
Yes, somebody needed to.
It was too much.
Yeah. Everyone was saying Emily was doing way too much at that reunion.
And she didn't need to. Like the season was fabulous. Like,
also, no one was coming for her.
Agreed. And she's also second place on the couch. Like, she's not even last.
Yeah.
You know, like there's no need. You're not
fighting for her spot.
No, she's number 2.
Oh,
come on.
You know what I just thought of? The topic we haven't talked about that's going to be is Emily at the fashion show. That's for sure going to be part 2 or 3. There's one other disagreement that I don't want to hear about again.
Just like really reliving it.
Yeah.
Anyway, I can't wait for the Alexis of it all. I think they kind of really snub her. Emily's quote is, you know, you're the dumbest person I've ever met.
Oh, yeah.
I can't wait for that. We need a little of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Alexis got away with a lot this season.
Yes. I wonder if she'll be back. I don't know.
I don't think so. I think they're bringing Joe. I'm making a bet right now.
Okay.
November, whatever today it is, tonight.
Whatever today is, November.
Whatever the time is, whatever the date is, Joe's coming back.
Okay. I don't think you're wrong. Whenever they start like breadcrumbing people in, suddenly they're back. They're kind of testing the waters.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on to our next segment. Jessica, what are the kids talking about these days?
Yes. You know, I had to go political with this one just because we haven't had...
Wait, what's been political recently?
Yes, like we haven't had a podcast since the election. But I actually was kind of curious about it myself. You know, they do all the breakdowns of like how different, you know, populations voted, and you see some of the bigger ones. But I think the big piece, they're not saying it totally made the difference, but the big piece was they really predicted how much Gen Z was going to go Republican.
Oh, interesting.
So especially Gen Z men. But what do you think was the biggest policy thing that Gen Z men said they voted, why they voted for Trump?
I mean, I'm just going to go economy because that's what I felt like everyone was.
You're right. I literally asked Vince and he's like, the border? You know, he got it wrong. I was like, yes, it was economy. And I was like, that makes sense. If you are an 18 to 27-year-old and you're working your like out of college job, being like, I'm never going to afford a home.
Right.
Inflation. So I was like, that kind of tracks. But yeah, they were just saying Gen Z's been always labeled like the woke generation. They moved, I think it was something like Gen Z men moved 15 percentage points more to the right.
Wow.
And Gen Z women moved 7 in this election.
Yeah.
For how many more Republican votes came from that generation. And I think that was extremely interesting.
Yeah, right. Just unpredicted considering that.
Yeah.
How, you know, liberal they've
and all
shown.
The stuff we normally make fun of them for being like babies about and stuff. And you're like, everything leans liberal. And then they came out a lot stronger Republican in this election.
Yeah, Donald. Wow. Interesting.
So just a quick
one of the many things the Democrats maybe didn't predict were going to happen. A
lot of things were incorrectly predicted.
Told and predicted, yeah.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay, so the 2 conspiracy theories are not political.
Okay, great.
I purposely try to stay away from it. So one that's been around for a while, 23andMe. Have you heard this?
Yes.
The board all stepped down.
Yes.
They stepped down on like September 17th, so it's been a while. It's been like 2 months now. So a couple of conspiracy theorists have all picked this up, and they've already all talked about it to death. But the one thing is that we truly don't know why they stepped down. Like, nobody said anything.
Okay.
So a couple of things. One is the board didn't agree with this, the CEO. I think her name's Anna. I don't know how to say her last name.
Yeah.
Well, Keki's vision and the way she was taking the company. The stock price of 23andMe is not doing well. It's actually so low, Jessica, that it's going to be delisted off of NASDAQ. So the company's really not doing well.
Lord, okay.
They have more than 30 class action lawsuits due to perceived data breaches.
I was going to say, weren't there some huge data breaches? Yeah.
And then kind of the customer model is really odd too. Like, it's like once you do 23andMe, you're not going to do it again.
Right.
So Anna, is planning to take the company private, which usually I know very little about all this, but usually you see companies go public.
Yeah,
she's not taking.
Go backwards.
Yeah, she's taking it private.
Yeah.
And I Googled, like, why is this a big deal? And the implication is that when you take a company private, you don't have to worry about like what the public opinion would think, because you don't have people owning stocks and shares.
And you don't have to share as much financially, like the behind the scenes. Yeah.
So that's kind of the background story. Now, the conspiracy theorists don't actually know what was the straw that broke the camel's back of why they retired.
Yeah.
But a couple of things include, so she just is sitting on this huge pile of genetic data, right? So what she could do with it could be very evil. Yeah. In order to save the company, right? She probably is not doing it to do it. She's probably doing it to make money.
Right.
So she could sell that to pharma companies, right? Which they already partnered once with GSK back in the day.
Oh.
And they already kind of used that data and gave it to GSK. So that doesn't feel necessarily new.
Yeah.
But she could also partner with insurance companies.
Open about what they gave to GSK?
I didn't see anything that said we gave X data to GSK.
To help research XYZ or something.
Yeah, they tried to use the data to get a few drug trials going. Okay. You know, the drug process takes so long.
Yeah.
So I think the data bolstered probably some R&D element, but GSK really never developed a drug that was based off of 23andMe data.
Yeah.
And then they stopped kind of using it. So she could use it for something like that. She could go to government surveillance, right? Somehow give it to the government.
Well, don't those companies already kind of work with law enforcement?
Mm-hmm.
It's cold cases.
Right. Wasn't the Golden State Killer somebody they found through 23andMe?
They got a hit from a whatever cousin. I guess then maybe it's just up to the person to reach out, and they have to be like, you need to find this person for it. So maybe the company's not involved at that point.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's already known that they do that.
Right. And then you could also go to insurance companies so that they could make decisions on who they want to cover.
Yeah.
Credit card, same thing, although I think it's a little more soft. And then if you really wanted to get weird with it, it's future cloning. You could do something like that.
Have you ever done one of those?
Yes, I did. And I'm so mad I did it. I mean, of course, it's just why do you want that level of personalization sitting out there?
Yeah.
I don't think the company does a great job of protecting it.
No. Did you even find out anything interesting?
No.
Yeah, you're I knew all of this
like
about
a horoscope.
Myself.
It was oh, okay, good.
Yeah, I will give my brother props 5+ years ago when it was getting really popular. He said to everyone, do not do that.
And he works in the government.
Yeah.
I
know. That's where I was does he know something? And I also jokingly was why? Did you kill someone? You don't want any hits in
Golden State Killer.
Familiar data, whatever. I'm saying it wrong, but when it's a direct hit, someone in your lineage.
The other thing I'll just say is that she's married to Sergey Brin. Do you know who that is?
No.
The co-founder of Google.
Whoa.
Yes. Which that's always the part. Why does that feel like the bigger nugget of all this?
Yeah.
In the sense that.
And she founded the company?
I don't know if she founded it, but she's the leader. She's CEO.
CEO. Okay.
And they didn't agree with her vision, which is why they all stepped down. So maybe she had some dinner conversation with Sergey Brin that was what do we do here?
Google has a lot of ideas for that data, I'm sure.
Right. It's what's happening there? Anyway, we will probably not know. It's probably linked to a financial reason, But the conspiracy theorists are up in arms of like, what are you going to do with this data?
I hope we get, a 1 to 2 part Hulu documentary on this in another year. I would like to know. It is interesting.
Also, Jessica, do not confuse this with Ancestry.com, which got bought by BlackRock.
Yes.
Which that seems more weird, but
shady.
We don't know. I mean, no one can really put together exactly what they're going to use that for. So. All right, number 2. This just recently happened. It has to deal with aliens. So,
okay.
Aliens.
I must have missed that.
And DNA. Okay, so there's this guy named David Gertsch. He's an ex-Air Force veteran, and he was, I think, pretty high up. He's claiming that the government is holding back information about UFOs.
Okay.
Now, he's a whistleblower.
Yes.
He claims that he's stumbled across, he was a part of a National Geospatial Intelligence Agency. He claims he stumbled across this, like, looking through files one day. Like, Jessica, like, if you went on your company's server and you're like, what's this folder? He claims
What's this one labeled top secret?
Status documents of UFOs. So he is a whistleblower, and I think he's done this before, but he's claiming that the government's holding back info. They actually had a congressional hearing about it yesterday.
Okay.
Which I was going to listen to, but it was 2 hours. I couldn't get through it. But more specifically than that, so the conspiracy theory is that the U.S. government has dealt a lot with UFOs over the years.
Okay.
Retrieval of them, potentially people inside these aircrafts, all this documentation around it, and they are not telling the American public that they've encountered this stuff.
Okay.
Specifically, there's an organization that deals with this. It's called, let me look at my notes here. It's called like the Immaculate, I don't know, something immaculate. And their Immaculate Constellation. That's what it's called.
Not Conception.
I was going to say Conception, but I'm like, that's not it. That's not it.
Don't say that. Sounds like a very religious name.
Anyway, so this whistleblower is saying that this organization is there to specifically go out and interact with UFOs and bring all this evidence back. And so apparently during this hearing, there's a lot of really outlandish statements made and no evidence to back it up.
Okay.
So that was the net of it.
He's like, I swear I saw the file, but now the file is gone and I cannot find the file anymore.
All I saw was like pictures of like old white men holding up photos of like aliens. Like it was like, okay, did anything new come out of this? So, but it's this whole program, and basically this guy is saying that there's all these images, all these intelligence measures and sightings that are of massive significance. So, I mean, and then they're going to introduce the UAP Transparency Act, which would require the President of the United States to direct all federal agencies and departments to make those documents public. I think they've done this once before. I think I've read it, but we're back again.
Okay, well, let's just ask Elon Musk. I mean, all his SpaceX stuff, I bet he's got info.
Like he knows of where the Martians are?
I don't know. But I remember, gosh, this was like really early on the podcast when we were talking about aliens and like, do we believe in them? And it's like, it's always just a little too convenient. Like, yes, the government can do all these crazy things that we're just none the wiser. But how come none of them are crashing into populated areas? Like with today's, everyone's holding a cell phone at all times.
Right.
There is not one crashing into a city, and the government's able to sweep in and like take it away before the public sees it.
Right. Well, also, I feel like I've looked at a variety of alien videos on social media.
Like aliens.
And it's always like grainy, like a 1990s VCR recorder, like took it.
Right.
It's like, why can't the alien videos be clear?
On the iPhone 16 Pro, you saw Vince's zoom on that. He was in like one skyscraper and he zoomed in on one.
The cameras are
half a mile away and we could nearly see in the window.
Right. So why is every alien footage like we're dealing back in like the 1960s?
All a little
black and
suspect.
white. Yeah. Anyway, those are the two conspiracy theories I have.
All right. I thought you were going to maybe do the one Allie shared with us.
Oh, yeah, our friend.
About diseases being spread by the government.
No, that was not vetted appropriately. Anyway, Jessica, thank you for the convo. We covered a lot.
Yes.
Excited for the reunion tonight, part 2.
Oh my God, I can't believe it's tonight. Yes.
And
we'll head home and watch that.
all right. Have a good one.
Bye.